It's the Friday Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Well, good evening and welcome back to the show. My next guest is on the line from London. He's a top football agent over, well, many, many years. He's represented players of the likes of Diego Maradona to Nico Cranshaw from Spurs. In a couple of weeks, he's about to undertake one of the most extraordinary things I've ever heard, one of the most extraordinary challenges. I mean, effectively, he's putting his life in a position to save somebody else's, running a marathon around the North Pole. For those of you that would want to know exactly why on earth somebody would want to do this, he's on the line here to explain it to us this evening. And it is my great, humble pleasure to welcome Jon Smith onto the show this evening, the Friday Night Sports Bar. Jon, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Dom. How are you?
Yeah, very good. It's a pleasure to have you on, Jon. Please, I mean, the first question absolutely has to be, why on earth? I mean, I certainly know why you're doing it, but for the listeners out there, why are you attempting something like this?
Well, I sold a part of my business last year, and you get to a part of your life, and you think, okay, now what am I going to do to try and make a difference? And I'm approaching 60. I'm only 58, but I'll be 59 this year, so 60 is sort of looming. And I was talking to some people at a dinner party one night, and somebody mentioned this, and I thought, oh, that would be challenging. And I just missed it, but it kept, like one of those things, like one of those songs that keeps going into your head, it just kept coming back at me. And I thought, can I really do this? Can I really do this? And a very few people each year get past medically and mentally stable enough to actually do this, and I just fancied it, so I applied, and they gave me a couple of tests and said, yeah, okay, you're good to go. So here we are.
How many people actually attempt this? I mean, how many people are really joining?
24 other nutters from around the world in 2 weeks' time at the North Pole.
Now, of course, there is a much deeper reason as to why you're doing it. In the beginning, it started off just that, but it's actually flourished into something else with an awful lot more meaning for you.
Yeah, I wanted to do something a little special, and many years ago, I was married before, and my wife sadly passed away, and we set up a charity in her name. And when I was speaking to the guys that run the charity, they found me a couple of people who they said would be quite pertinent to raise funds for, and one of them was a little lad called Alex Field, who lives in East London, and he's got quite an very aggressive brain tumour. I don't know why, Dom, it just kind of touched me, and I met him, and he's such a lively little lad. He's a big football fan, and the NHS here are fantastic, but there's a protocol on drug use and various other things, and there's not a lot more they can do for him, and we found a treatment for him in America in 2 centres, one in Boston and one in California, and they might be able to give him a life. So we've got to raise $150,000, about £100,000, and we're about 70 grand in. So providing I can get myself around the pole a few times, and people sponsor me for we need another £30,000, and then we'll send him on his way, and with a bit of luck we'll be able to give him a life.
Well, Jon, while we're on that subject, there's plenty more questions I want to ask you, because you did mention something, you've got to go more than a couple of times around the pole. But while we're on the subject of money, I mean, you've got a website there where if anybody out there is interested, you've got a blog as well. If anybody out there is interested, they can get involved in this project. Just read that out for us.
Absolutely, Dom. Thanks for the opportunity for doing that. The blog is Polarrunner, which is POLARRUNNER.wordpress.com, and the donations site is Virgin Money Giving, which is www.virginmoneygiving.com/Polarrunner. And obviously you're phoning from overseas, so I'm just looking at the instructions here.
Yeah, I think
donors will need to change country of residence to Spain.
Yeah, I spoke to
and leave the postcode blank.
I spoke to Janine earlier about that, and of course, what you need to do out there, if you want to get onto the virginmoneygiving.com/Polarrunner, if you want to donate towards this incredible cause, you have to change the country, but just don't put the postcode in, and then absolutely everything's going to be fine with that. But no, I mean, you mentioned just before we do that, and we will give that out again later in the show. We'll give it out again next week as well, listeners. So if you missed it, please feel free to give us a ring at any stage, and we'll pass those information on for you. 4.4 kilometres, 10 times around the North Pole. That's basically what you're up against.
Yeah, there's some interesting challenges in this. It's going to be about minus 40, which means that you can't really walk it because it's too cold. So you got to run it. Can't run too quick because we will sweat. I mean, the most amazing thing is that the kit these days is so sophisticated. It's layers, very thin layers. And I remember, I don't know whether you recall, we had a really cold snap here in the UK back in November, December last year. And I put on my little 4 layers and went for a little run in minus 10, and I was too hot. So it's a question of kind of getting the balance right between just getting the pace right so I don't sweat too much, because the sweat will turn to ice. So just getting it to a position where I feel comfortable, and of course each circuit I potentially could come into the warm tent, which is all of 0 degrees, and take on board a little bit of water and a little bit of nutrition. And they can't point you in a direction for 26 miles because they potentially lose you in the weather conditions up there, or you might meet a polar bear or two.
I was going to say, I mean,
polar bears don't get up that far.
It's a little bit too cold for them, isn't it? But of course,
it's a bit cold for them.
You might have the small problem of needing to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you have to do that in the tent, because otherwise it freezes up, and that's not good news.
And
frostbite in those areas is not good news.
I mean, John, how on earth do you train for something like this? I mean, you're not, sitting on a running machine in somebody's fridge every day or along those sort of lines. I mean, how do you train for something as extreme as this?
Well, people's freezers are actually not cold enough, because this is 15, 20 degrees below what your average freezer is. So I've got a fantastic coach, a guy called Greg White, who's been responsible for taking David Walliams across the Channel for comic relief, took Cracknell and Fogel down to the South Pole, and he's been taking me into a cold chamber. So I've been running in minus 20, minus 30, and well, it's actually not running because the running machines don't work in that temperature. So we've been cross-training and biking, and the layers, the equipment work. I mean, it actually does protect you. That my biggest worry is going from the tent to the starting line, which takes about 5 minutes to assemble everybody, and in that time it's very, very cold. So and then building up some kind of rhythm in a very alien environment full of nooks and crannies, and apparently the ice creaks as you run, which is a bit of a concern. But it'll be all right.
I mean, is there going to be a problem with the thickness of the ice at this time of the year?
Well, it is interesting that when they first ever did this 5 years ago, the ice was 30 foot thick, so the plane landing us on the North Pole ice floe was fine. Last year it was 15 foot thick, so we don't want it any thinner than that, because you wouldn't want to fall through, because you wouldn't survive that.
John, this is Rob. What do you do about your eyes? Because I would imagine if you've got a wind chill factor up there, and just the sheer temperature alone, it must affect your eyes. Do you wear goggles?
Everything's covered. I've got this. I've done the hardest thing in running in that is that you cover your mouth, and you have your own little eco chamber around your face. So the hot air that you exhale turns to ice, and you have all these icicles sort of hanging off your face. But the inside of that environment is actually quite warm. And the eyes are covered by goggles. Everything is covered: ears, nose, obviously hands and feet. It's just a question of you hope that not only the equipment works and that you're warm enough, which I'm sure I will be, but that nothing is exposed, and that's why I guess every 2 or 3 laps I'll come in and be checked.
John, is there a time scale that you need to be completing the marathon in?
Well, the Russian military plane that takes us up there can only sit on the ice floe for about 36 hours, so I've got the best part of 34, 35 hours to do this. It could be the longest marathon on record, but somehow I'm going to do it. But yeah, 36 hours is top whack.
And how's your conditioning at the moment? How do you feel about your physical presence at the moment to tackle this almost impossible?
The only problem I've got, Dom, is that my knees are somewhat knackered from excessive amounts of sport over the years. So the problem for me is that I haven't been doing a lot of running, and Greg as my coach, has been training me in a swimming pool. So I've been running against jets of water, which is a great fitness. I mean, I'm super fit. I just hope that my legs will carry me. I've never done beyond 10k, and this is 44k. So I'm just hoping that my fitness, heart and lungs are very strong. My fitness will carry me beyond 15k up to 44. A bit of mental determination.
John, I heard as a result of all the work you've been doing in the pool that Team GB, I beg your pardon, are interested in getting you involved in the 2012 Olympics in the synchronised swimming?
Yeah, I'm probably okay to go for the aquatics team now.
Well, listen,
it's a challenge, and it's something. What I'm really hoping for is a really sunny day, because there's 24-hour daylight up there, so this could be run at any time, depending on weather conditions. But I just think, how extraordinary will it be to be running a marathon in that wonderful atmosphere with a bright, sunny day-night and the snow and no pollution, and it's going to be a moment. And I've got a little picture of Alex to hang around my neck and tuck inside my gear. Fantastic. So that when it gets really dark, it's dark in my heart at around about 15-20 miles, I can just look, and he's going through a lot worse than I am. So with a bit of luck, we'll get through this, and as I say, I want to give him a life. That's more important.
John, when is the start? What day do you begin this?
Well, we're looking at planning to go. I've got to be up there by the 3rd. And I was going to go on the 1st of April, but I thought that's probably not a good day to go. So I've moved it to the 2nd. So I'm leaving London on the 2nd, we travel via Oslo and go up to a little island in the Arctic called Spitsbergen, where we have a 4 or 5 day kind of warm-up, but it's a training camp. And then this Russian plane takes us to the pole on the 6th, and we run this thing on the 7th. And hopefully I've finished running by the 8th, and I'll be on my way back on the 9th.
And every single day, almost every hour, you will be updating on your blog so people can follow your progress, follow everything that's going on as well.
Yeah, no, I'll do all of that. I probably won't be able to do much when I'm on the pole, because the world's satellites are positioned around the sides of the planet. There's very little that can get you, apart from there's a satellite phone connection that goes up to a satellite north of the pole. If you remember when James Cracknell and Fogel went down to the South Pole, they couldn't even get a light signal down there. Sure. So I'll be out of contact for 3 or 4 days, and then I'll be back up when we're in Spitsbergen again.
Well, John, I was going to ask you a couple of footballing questions, but we are running out of time. The most important thing is that we spoke to you about this extraordinary event that you're just about to undertake, and the world is a better place for people like you in it, that's for sure. We wish you luck.
It's very kind of you to say so, and thank you for your support.
No, absolutely not, and we will be doing that over the coming weeks as well, coming months if it's all we can help, and we'll be following your progress as well, John. And before the end of the show, I'll be giving out the site again and your blog site and how people can donate as well.
Thanks, Dom, and I'm going to tell you, I'm really looking forward to being back in Spain, sitting on the beach warming up.
We'd love to be able to chat to you after the event as well, just to tell us, basically emotionally all that you went through to achieving what you're going to achieve.
That would be a pleasure, and I'm really grateful for your support.
And John, while you're up there, if you see a guy in a red suit, my son wants an Xbox, okay? Just mention it, will you?
Yeah, I'll leave a little marker for you up there.
Yeah, that'd be good.
John, thank you very much indeed. Have a great weekend. Go well.
Thanks.